Hello and welcome to Good Morning UK Have Your Say, a Force for Good's mid-morning show coming to you live from our nerve centre here in the heart of the great British city of Glasgow with me, your host, Alistair McConaughey. Welcome to our 44th show in our 2001 series, Good Morning UK Have Your Say. We're broadcasting live across all our platforms on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube and on TikTok. Now this morning we're going to be talking about Nicola Sturgeon says that the Westminster system is broken and corrupt. Do we agree with her? We're going to be talking about 25% of Scots say we should automatically now give up oil and gas production, according to an opinion poll in the Scotsman this morning. We ask, are 25% of Scots just completely loony, and have they completely lost the plot? And Prince Charles apparently is apologising for slavery in Barbados. Well, haven't we been here several hundred years ago anyway and sorted all that out? These are the sort of things that we're going to be talking about this morning in a packed programme. And also the good news is that our magazine, our 40-page magazine, is now here in the office. It arrived in our crib yesterday, and we're going to be talking all about that. And wait till you see it. It's absolutely amazing. Are we agreed with Nicola Sturgeon that Westminster is quote-unquote broken and corrupt? And if it's not broken and corrupt, then what exactly is it? I'll give you our thoughts in a moment on that. Do you know, I don't like that language, even if it was true. I don't like the language of talking about broken and corrupt. And we don't even talk about that when we're referring to, you know, the SNP, because there is a limit to language. And at which point do you actually start to undermine the democratic process that you also depend upon if you're a politician? So if you're throwing around words like, the system's broken, the system's corrupt, then you're basically saying that the politics and the system that you are involved in is not fit for purpose. And if you're a politician, you have to be careful about using that language, because it is quite revolutionary language. And when people start talking like that, and especially when politicians start talking like that, you've got to be a little bit concerned, because it is dangerous language. You know, it's dangerous language. And so I was not pleased to see Nicola Sturgeon using that particular language, although I do take the point that there is quite a bit going on in Westminster and also in Holyrood, which should not be going on, and that our democratic system has been shown up in the past 18 months to be somewhat problematical in many ways, which we've talked about on previous programmes, not least of which is, of course, the lockdown and the extent to which the state in Scotland and also throughout the United Kingdom has imposed itself dangerously so upon the people. And that is definitely a concern for all people, whether you are Scottish nationalists or whether you're Scottish unionists or what have you. The overreach of our democratic state is undoubtedly a concern for us all. And we have to be conscious of that. There are people who welcome that overreach, of course, and you only have to pick up the national newspapers each day to find people who are making convoluted arguments to justify state overreach. But for those of us who believe in freedom and liberty and democracy and the British characters that we spoke about last week, then for those of us who believe in those things, in about freedom, in about not being slaves, in about standing up to tyrants, in about service to your country. For those of us who believe in these things, the last 2 years have been a dangerous wake-up call for us all. And let's not lose sight of that underlying problem that exists throughout our British democratic process. We're not saying it would be improved in an independent Scotland. From what we can see at the moment, it will be a lot worse, because Nicola Sturgeon and Humza Yousaf and her crew there are far more naturally authoritarian-minded than many people in the British Parliament. I mean, the Scottish National Party tap into a deep vein that goes way back of a particular kind of Scottish intolerance to people who disagree with them. And they tap into that, which is not always very healthy, and in fact is very dangerous. Of course, as Tommy says, people in glass houses, which is what the SNP are standing in at the moment, should certainly not throw stones of accusation. And Jonathan there, responding from Sydney, Australia, says, yes, he can get out. It's not quite as bad as it was. However, like Scotland and Wales, we have vaccine passports for everything but essential shops and supermarkets. Well, that's a pity to hear. That passports for having had a medical intervention, that's all new as well. And that's across Western society. Never thought we'd see the like of that. Never thought we would see the like, but here we are. And good to see that Preston journalist. Hope you are well. We absolutely are, and we'll be contacting you later today. That Preston journalist, just to say what great stuff you do. If you're on YouTube, Google or search for that Preston journalist, and he is absolutely excellent, producing a lot of good content every single day, it seems like, and getting hundreds and thousands of views for it as well. Good stuff. And that Preston journalist also sticks it to the SNP every day as well, so that's always good to see. Bambi Battle says she doesn't agree that there are such things as united British traits. She thinks they're a fiction. Well, at what point does fiction and reality come together to create something in addition? You know, if you don't talk about something, then you don't have them. Nations themselves are all created through ideas, some of which are 100% true, some of which are not entirely true, and some of which are aspirations but have yet to happen. So just because you can't... Because at the moment, right, the idea Britons never will be slaves, that's a fiction. Because Britons have revealed themselves in the last 2 years to be slaves. So what we need to do is to get back to not being slaves again. So we have to use that theme in British history as an aspiration, Bambi, as an aspiration. So a lot of these things are aspirations, even if they're not actually manifest every day as natural traits. And the Burton Brigade, of course, back as always with Britain isn't a nation. Yes, it is. And that's the first thing that if you, Burton, want to understand unionism, that's what you must understand. Unionists believe. We believe Britain is a nation. Great comments coming in on TikTok. Mark says, I don't know what being British means. I'm going to get to that in a minute, because in our new magazine we have 600 words which explain exactly what being British is. Yes, I mean, another crazy thing this morning, right, is here we're on the slavery topic, so let's continue it. Prince Charles was in Barbados. Now, what's happening in Barbados is the Chinese have moved in big style, because Barbados is what's called a Commonwealth realm, and a Commonwealth realm is a country that used to be part of what was called the British Empire, but is now part of the Commonwealth, but retains the Queen as head of state. And of all the Commonwealth countries, there's 54 Commonwealth countries, and there was 16 Commonwealth realms. Unfortunately, there's now 15, because Barbados has dropped the Queen as head of state. And one of the reasons they've done that is because they're heavily under the influence at the moment of the Chinese, who are moving in on Commonwealth countries and Commonwealth realm countries, and giving them money, investing in these countries, and even training their military and police forces. And so these countries are not looking to Britain anymore, at least Barbados isn't. They're looking to China, of all places. And of course, China is an opponent of the British Western democracy and British influence in the world. And so they're trying to get these countries to drop their British connections. And of course, our British politicians are just so without any vision at all. They can't even see what's going on, okay? Because the Chinese Communist Party have this theory of total war. They call it total war. That doesn't mean that they're fighting people on the streets. What it means is that in every way, shape and form that they can get into society in some way, whether via social media, whether via diplomatic means or whatever, they will push their national agenda, their Chinese economic and social and political agenda wherever they can. It's like basically an empire that they're building. So they're seeking to move in on Africa. Huge numbers of countries in Africa kind of dominated now by the Chinese, as well as, of course, other countries that Britain has had a historic relationship with and has also got a political relationship with, including some of these Caribbean countries which have got the Queen as head of state. So that should never have happened. That dropping the Queen as head of state should never have happened, because Barbados should have been looking to Britain to help lead it in the world and to help invest in it and all that sort of stuff, instead of looking to China, for crying out loud. Anyway, so be it. That's why they've gone down that route. And Prince Charles was there to I don't know, lower the flag or whatever he had to do. And he made an apology for slavery. Now, excuse me, but that was like hundreds of years ago. And in the beginning of the 19th century, in 1807, we passed the first Slavery Abolition Act. And then in 1833, we passed the act to stop the practice of it in all the countries of the world that Britain controlled, including the sea passages as well. And thousands of Royal Navy sailors died and perished in that fight to abolish slavery. So Britain has got zero to apologise for. Zero to apologise for. We literally stamped it out when we had the power to stamp it out. So it's all over and it's all in the past now. It's all in the past. So why are these old bones being raked up? You have to ask that. Why are the old bones being raked up? We've moved on. Barbados was a successful country and nestled well within the overall British world that we were all part of. You know, there's no problems with slavery in Barbados today. Certainly nothing that Britain has to apologise for. I mean, people in Barbados should be thanking Britain, if anything. You know, that's the way that you should be looking at it. For crying out loud, totally absurd. Where does this nonsense come from? And I was thinking about that the other day, and it's like there's people who are pushing a revolutionary agenda. They want to pretend that the last 300 years never happened and that somehow we're back in the 16th and 17th century, and all that fight to abolish slavery that Britain was at the forefront of somehow never happened. You know, and they could get away with that, because if they're able to wipe out history, and if they're able to pretend that none of that ever happened, and if they just ditch all of those connections, then people won't know any better. People won't know any better. And I have to say, I was disappointed with Prince Charles, and I'll say this about him. You know, we obviously were British patriots. We love British institutions, and we're all for the monarchy. Very much so. I mean, we're big supporters of the monarchy, but the monarchy has to be awfully careful, man. It has to be awfully careful, because, you know, they need to be careful not to get into controversial political topics like global warming, right? Lots of people have different views on that. We don't want to hear Prince Charles or William's view on it. It's not their place to talk about those things. Lots of people have views on slavery, for example. We would look to the royal family to emphasise the positive elements of how Britain stood firm against it, not to give any impression that somehow we are guilty today. You know, we've redeemed ourselves from that guilt that could be said to have once been ours. We've redeemed ourselves in blood. In blood, okay? So don't give me any nonsense about how we've got to apologise for it today. We've redeemed ourselves long ago. So that's the point that Charles should be making. And now we understand that the royal family, of course, is in a difficult situation because they look about and they're trying to maintain themselves as well. So they say, who's got the power? Oh my gosh, it's all these BLM nutters in the media who have got the power. It's all these global warming loonies who have got the power in the media. So we've got to be obsequious to their agenda. We've got to listen and pretend that we agree with them, okay? And I can understand them taking that view and thinking we have to go along with this and be seen to go along with it if we want to survive, okay? I can understand that from one angle, but here's what I would say to Prince Charles. And it's like Boris Johnson with his global warming, crazy environmental agenda that nobody voted for. You have to remember this. You have to remember your base, okay? Who is your base? Who is the base of supporting the royal family? That it's working class and middle class people in the United Kingdom, okay? It's not Hampstead liberals who obsess about global warming and who go on BLM marches. They are not the base of support for the royal family, and they're not the base of support for Boris Johnson either. So by catering to them, by pandering to them, you risk losing your base. And if you lose your base, then you have nobody left. Because let me tell you, these Hampstead liberals won't care if you get overthrown. They're not going to care for Boris Johnson. We counted the march at the COP26 event. We counted them in at 13,000. Not 100,000. And I can tell you for a fact, not one of these people, not one of these 13,000 people will ever vote for Boris Johnson. So why is he even pandering to them? You have to ask yourself that question. I'll tell you something, right? Boris Johnson, he could go to Cape Canaveral. He could sit in a rocket. He could fire himself off to the sun, okay? He could get out, do a spacewalk in front of the sun, use a megaphone, shout at the sun, tell it to calm down and cool down by a couple of degrees, get back into his spaceship, land in the Pacific Ocean, get back to Westminster, and he still would not get any credit from these Hampstead liberals for what he was trying to do about global warming, okay? So you have to understand your base, and you have to understand that people will use you if they can get some mileage from you, but at the end of the day, they will drop you like a hot brick because they're just using you. So I would give that advice to the royal family, is like, remember your base. Do not alienate your base. But we still love you guys, and we still wish you all the very best. Absolutely. Now, on this day in British history, which is the 1st of December, in 1843, the world's first commercially produced Christmas card went on sale on this day. The world's first commercially produced Christmas card went on sale on this day, 1st of December in 1843. And of course, it was a British invention, as all great things these days and those days were. And it was commissioned by a chap who was in the... I don't know if they called it back in the Royal Mail back in those days, but worked in the post office, and it was commissioned by a chap called Sir Henry Cole, who thought it would be a good idea. And he got an English artist to paint it. But it wasn't the first ever Christmas card that was sent, because prior to that, people, generally nobility and others, had been sending greetings to each other through the post, because they could afford to send stuff through the post. Commercially produced Christmas cards only came into play after the penny post was invented, which meant you could send a letter or a card for 1 penny. And so after that came into being, mail and postage and cards and so on took off. So it wasn't the world's first Christmas card. The world's first recorded Christmas card was sent by a German Lutheran called Michael Meyer in 1611 to no other than the great King James VI of Scotland and Great Britain. And he's a man that's always close to our heart, because it was the Scotsman King James VI that invented the wonderful Union Jack flag. And it was sent to him, and the greeting said, "A greeting on the birthday of the sacred king to the most worshipful and energetic Lord and most eminent James, King of Great Britain and Ireland, and defender of the true faith, with a gesture of joyful celebration of the birthday of the Lord. In most joy and fortune we enter into the new auspicious year 1611. That was the first recorded Christmas card that was ever sent, and it was sent to King James VI of Great Britain, our man. Good stuff. Well, let me just show you something amazing that's happened. As you know, we've been working on a 40-page, full-colour A4 magazine on policies to keep the United Kingdom together. We were working on it for the last 3 months. We designed it, and our team designed it, and it arrived in the office yesterday. And here it is right now. This is a 40-pager. It's issue 4 of Union Heart. It's our special policy edition, and it's called Do More Together. 3 words which sum up how to keep the United Kingdom together. And in this document, in this full colour 40-pager, we list 102 policies to keep the UK together. 102 of them, okay? Now, what's the story behind that? You know, we've been going for almost 10 years. Next year will be this company's 10th annual birthday. And during that time, we've written lots of articles, well, several articles, and given speeches on policies to keep the UK together. And we thought at the start of this year, you know what would be a good project for 2021 would be to bring all of those ideas together into one place with lots of new policies which we've been thinking about since. Just package them between 2 pieces of paper and get them out there to people who are interested, to MPs, to legislators in the devolved assemblies. Give them things to think about. Get them out there to opinion formers. And you know, we've got the skills as well in-house to put together such amazing stuff. Now see there, somebody on TikTok said Britain is not a nation. Well, in that article there, Britain a unitary state and a nation, we explain that it is a nation. We explain how you get towards a more perfect union. And somebody also asked there what it means to be British. Well, in that article, what it means to be British. And then we get metaphysical, because we always have a metaphysical angle here. And we talk about the United Kingdom being the great work of time. And that's actually a painting of King James VI when the Scotsman became King of Great Britain, and a couple of angels up there at the top joining the crown of Scotland and the crown of England together to make a new baby called Great Britain. And that's on the ceiling of the banqueting house in Whitehall. And these are the first pages that are just setting the scene, basically. Setting the scene. And then we have, I think this is just amazing. Look at that. Look at that. That's the index page for all the for the pages that follow. Okay, and that's the Kelpies. Back on the 5th of July 2017, I personally took that photograph. Okay, and that's a couple of planes doing a heart in the sky And it's just such a powerful picture that we're going to use that. We're going to put that to great effect in the future as well. We've got an idea of a book that's going to be the front cover of it. Anyway, and so we then explain what devolution is. Look at that full color and everything. It's just amazing. And then all the different policies are in red. So if you see a red title, that's a policy. And we go on through it. Now, the good news is this is free to our union supporters. So if you're a union supporter, that is, if you're donating monthly, you'll get this for free. You'll get this for free. All you need to do is just send us an email or contact us in some way, and we'll pop this in the post to you. If you're a monthly donor, it's free to you. Okay, our every single one of our monthly donors should have a copy of this. Absolutely. And however, if you're not a monthly donor, you can become one, or you can simply buy this for $5. Okay, we'll put up the link there of how you can get it. If you're watching on TikTok, go to the link tree in our bio, and at website shop is the first link. Click on that and you'll get through to our website shop where you can see this. And we've also got a special offer as well. You can buy this and you can buy the wee book for the union together for a discount. These are normally both $5, but if you buy them together, it's £9.50. Okay, so we've also got a link for that in our website shop, and we'll put up that link there. So you can buy the Union Heart for a $5, you can buy this for a $5, or you can buy both Union Heart and a wee book for the union together for £9.50. And let me tell you, we've got stacks of these in the crib. We've got mad volume, yo. We've got mad volume. And we need to get this product onto the streets. And that's where you and all my homies come in. And we shift this on the streets as soon as possible, because we've got stacks of them. Let's get them out there. And if you shift them, we've got more where these came from. Great stuff. An amazing document. We're so proud of everybody who contributed to that, everybody who took photographs, everybody who helped with ideas, everybody who's in the photographs. Every single photograph and graphic there, apart from a couple, are AFFG originals. There's a good video on YouTube called Empire of Dust, which lasts for about an hour and 15 minutes, and it's a documentary about a Chinese company who I think they're trying to lay a road in an African country, and it just shows the interaction between the Chinese and the Africans, and the two are mediated by the African foreman called Eddie, who is quite an intelligent fellow. He speaks Mandarin, French, English, in addition to his usual. So, and he can see what's going on, and he gets frustrated as well with just the kind of the whole thing. It's a really interesting program, Empire of Dust. In a world, or rather in a country where the Scottish nationalists are trying to get rid of it, this is just our big, I was going to be rude there, I won't. This is just our big statement to Nicola, saying, it's here to stay, get used to it. And that's actually, thank you for raising that, that's actually one of our policies. It's one of our articles where we talk about fly the Union Jack. And we have, that's basically one big policy there about how we can make it, each of us can do our bit to fly the flag of the nation, because if we don't fly the flag of the nation, then people don't realise that the nation actually exists. And we talk about that here. We say if you put the substance out of mind, then you put the spirit of it out of mind. And that's what the Scottish nationalists, that's what Nicola Sturgeon and our cronies are trying to do. They know that if you put something out of sight, you put it out of mind. If you put the substance away, then the spirit never gets a chance to arise. So you've got to keep the substance up there. You've got to keep the physical flag flying. Remember the old days in battle. The flag had to be picked up when it was dropped. More news coming up. As many of you know, every December we have our Yule Britannia Christmas crowdfunder. Okay? Our Yule Britannia Christmas crowdfunder. And that's our 28-day crowdfunder. It happens once a year. And this year it's going to begin next Thursday, which is... What date is next Thursday? It's today's the 1st. It's the 9th, isn't it? Yeah, Thursday the 9th. And it will last for 28 days through to Epiphany, which is the 6th of January. Or is it the 9th of January? Oh, I don't have those dates on me. Anyway, that's beginning next Thursday. That's beginning next Thursday, our Yule Britannia Christmas crowdfunder. And as a key part of our Yule Britannia Christmas crowdfunder, we have our 10-hour union telethon. Okay, our 10-hour union telethon. And that's going to be on Saturday, the 11th of December. A 10-hour program. Amazing. We did it for the first time last year. This year, we've got some great guests lined up. We're aiming to have a guest every hour, so we're aiming for 10 guests, minimum of 9 anyway, and we're going to have each hour devoted to a particular topic, whether it's Brexit, whether it's unionism, whether it is the lockdown situation, whether it is the BLM statue scenario. We've got it all put into we've got a great show, a great schedule lined up. We've got a great show flow, as they call it, for the 10 hours. And one or two people still looking to be guests. So if you'd like to be a guest on that for half an hour, do contact the program. So make a date. That'll be from around about midday on Saturday the 11th until 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock at night, and we'll just be going straight through. We'd love to have a co-host on as well, and we're looking to see if we can do something like that also. So that's coming up. Yeah, see, there's somebody on TikTok, and this is why we're on TikTok, is in order to reach out to the Scottish nationalists who don't fully understand, for reasons because they've never learned it, they don't get taught it in schools, who've not learned their British history. And this chap was just saying there that he believes England colonised as well. I've just pointed out to you that the first union was the Union of the Crowns, when the Scotsman James VI, who was King of Scots, became also King of England, and thereby declared himself King of Great Britain. And we actually quote him here, and this was back when the monarchy had certainly more power than it does today. And in his maiden speech to Parliament on the 19th of March 1604, okay, over 100 years before the Union of Parliaments, he declared, "Hath not God first united these two kingdoms, both in language, religion, and similitude of manners? Hath he not made us all in one island, encompassed with one sea, and of itself by nature so indivisible? These two countries being separated neither by sea nor great river, mountain nor other strength of nature, but only by little small brooks or demolished little walls, are now in the end and fullness of time united. Okay, so the idea, the English colonising Scotland narrative doesn't work at all. And indeed, James VI tried at least twice, I think it's 3 times, I'm going to write an article on this, keep meaning to do so, to actually get a political union between Scotland and England. But the English Parliament at the time were for having none of it. And so he was a man before his time, and it wasn't until 100 years later, in 1707, that the Union of Parliaments came about, where the Scottish Parliament voted to join with England, and the English Parliament voted to join with Scotland, and then they got the British Parliament came as a consequence of that. So the English colonising narrative just doesn't match up in history at all. Some people think that maybe is what happened because England's obviously a lot bigger as far as population is concerned, but that's not what happened at all. There was nothing happened that you could say was how a colony would normally come to be. You know, there was no political movement or invasion or anything like that which would suggest political colonisation at all. Quite the opposite. Well, Bill, there, thanks. You should write a wee book of British histories. Do you know what? That's a great idea. And after we produced this 40-pager, we thought, you know, what's needed is a smaller one on the Union, and tracing the timeline of the Union. And, you know, we like to think of the Union as going right back into the midst of time, back before political and regal unions, going right back to social and cultural unions in the midst of time, as we say in our wee book. So what we need to do, as you've said, Bill, and I think we're going to do that as a consequence of you saying that, is our next project will be a timeline of the Union. Okay, a timeline of the Union. This, however, does a very, very good job of mentioning quite a bit of that as well, and you can get this for a £5, only a £5. We'll put up the link for this as well, but remember, you can also get it along with this for a discount, and we'll put up the link for that as well. And while I'm doing my sales pitch here, remember, if you're a union supporter, you're entitled to request absolutely free, a free pack of 5 of our glorious British Christmas cards, which show the monarchs from the Glorious Revolution, beginning with Mary and William. Okay, so you're entitled to request that, a free pack of 5, free of charge, if you are a union supporter, if you're donating to us monthly. If you're not donating to us monthly, but you'd like to donate to us monthly, then we'll put up the union supporter link there as well. Well, good conversations going on there on TikTok. Lee is just pointing out that there's basically no benefits of creating a hard border for trade and freedom of movement on the Scotland-England border. Fraser says he doesn't want a hard border if he had wanted independence. Thanks for the likes, Lee. The borders love to be part of Great Britain, says Brandy. Well, that was it. The borders, the so-called borders area between Scotland and England was always a disputed area. For a while, there wasn't a specific line until James VI came along, and during his reign, it was a kind of lawless area back then, because nobody knew where the Scottish boundary and the English boundary really lay, and so there was quite a lot of what would you call it, banditry, outlaw behaviour going on, because there wasn't really any proper demarcation lines until boundary lines were actually drawn properly under the reign of James VI. Or rather, he brought stability to that particular area of Britain. 00 Mo says the Union flag represents Christian mission, martyrdom, and the coming together of Christian communities. Certainly in the sense that it has the flag of St. Andrew, St. George, and St. Patrick united as one, and that was certainly the case when it was put together. Those religious symbolisms were heavily understood. And it's quite unique in that sense. I mean, there are flags of other countries that have overt Christian symbolism in them, but how many that I can think of? I know that there's the Virgin Islands has got Christian symbolism in its flag, which is heavily based, of course, also on the Union Jack. James says that a lot of the voters in Scotland don't really have a clue what Indy means. That's probably so. I mean, there's... This morning, as I was mentioned, I never got round to talk about it, but the Scotsman's reporting that 25% of people in Scotland think we should automatically give up oil and gas production. I mean, that's 25% of people who don't even realise how their house is heated, okay? Their house depends upon oil and gas production. Are they saying that they'd happily freeze to death? You know, that's 25% of people. Now, that's an opinion poll, and we always say be very careful with opinion polls, because opinion polls are a black art, and you can literally get people to answer anything if you frame the context and then the questions a certain way. You can manipulate people as if very easily, shall we say. So we're not wanting to believe that 25% of people in Scotland actually believe that they'd be better off freezing to death. We don't want to believe that, but that's certainly what this poll is implying. Ray says, this excellent presentation of history and actual facts will educate anyone who watches. I have carefully asked many nationalists whom I know why they vote SNP, and typical answers are, I feel more Scottish than British. It's the only way to rid ourselves of the Tories. We have the right to govern our own country, etc. Few have any concept of the serious economic and social implications of independence. Isn't that so true? The economic and social consequences of rendering a country in half, where half the population has a wider identity. And we always say that. The good thing about the United Kingdom is, if you want to feel more Scottish and British, that's absolutely fine. That's entirely up to you. And here within the United Kingdom, you can be as Scottish as you want, and others can be Scottish and British, and others can be as British as they want, and we can all rub along together, and we're not forcing anybody into a situation where they have to choose. And then when you force somebody into a situation where they have to choose, that's where you start getting problems in society. And unfortunately, we've seen that in the British Isles in the past. So we're going to be broadcasting next Wednesday, but the 10-hour Union Telethon will be on the Saturday the 11th, and that's always great. And we've got amazing prizes as well, amazing prizes. Every hour we're going to have a competition, and every hour we've got good prizes, big prizes as well, prizes that we need to parcel up and send to you as if it's Christmas. Big prizes. If some of you watched it last year, and it went down a bang, it really did. Yeah, we've got Union Jack prizes, Union Jack pint glasses, mugs. There's definitely a Union Jack theme running through the prizes, and there'll be There'll be at least 9 questions, 10 questions at the top of every hour as well, and we'll have lots of guests on. So that's, make a date for that. That's Saturday the 11th of December. And definitely there will be a way to donate to the telethon. We'll be putting up the direct link to our Yule Britannia Christmas crowdfunder, and that's all we'll be pushing for 28 days, folks. I'm sorry about that, but we have to do that because it's our Christmas Yule Britannia crowdfunder, which enables us to face the year safely and to meet certain key costs that we have to meet. And we raise that money via the Yule Britannia Christmas crowdfunder, the 28-day appeal at Christmas time. Folks, it's been an absolute blast. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to bring this to an end. Thank you to everybody who was on TikTok. You've been absolutely great, and thanks for the comments. Good stuff, great. Please, Scottish Nationalists, we love you on TikTok. Scottish Unionists, we love you on TikTok. We're here every Wednesday. Please come back in next Wednesday. So I'll say goodbye to all the good folk on TikTok, and we'll see you next week, and to everybody here as well. It just remains for me to say God bless the United Kingdom and God save the Queen. See you next week.